Do I have your permission to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for meeting with me today. And so this is our pre-observation meeting. I will be observing your ELAR block tomorrow at 1:30. But I want to start off first by talking about what is the lesson that I will be observing tomorrow.
Okay, we're going to be working on explaining the author's purpose and message within a text. And our mentor text is the Rent Party Jazz story. If time permits, I'm considering incorporating TEK 4.6H, synthesizing information to create new understanding, but that's kind of a side possibility.
4.6H, you said?
Yes, the main purpose is 4.10A, displaying the author's purpose and message within a text. If I am able to, I am hoping to also incorporate from another day 4.6H, synthesize information to create new understanding.
Okay.
But my primary focus is the author's purpose.
Okay. How are you going to teach author's purpose within this mentor text?
They're going to be talking collaboratively with a partner, and they're going to have dry erase boards. I'm going to separate them into partners, and they'll have one dry erase board between them, and when they have their answer, they're going to write it and hold it up. And then when everybody has their boards up, I'm going to send them to 3 corners based on what the responses are, so they can decide among themselves if that's the closest one. This story, Rent Party Jazz, actually could possibly have 2 authors' purposes. I believe, based on the teacher's book, the main purpose is to entertain. However, it does give a lot of information about jazz in New Orleans and that era. So what I'm hoping to incorporate is that sometimes there might be 2 apparent choices, but you have to pick the best one. And what I'm hoping to guide them to is that it's not informational, because this is historical fiction. So some of the elements in the story will not be true, although they might be representative of true events in the past. So, and if they aren't going that route, then I might just somehow raise the question of, could it possibly, I'm thinking entertainment also, but could it possibly be informational? Why or why not?
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a lot of collaborative discussion among the partners and then also the whole group.
Okay. So this kind of goes into the next question I have for you. What should the students know and be able to do by the end of the lesson? So what is your learning objective by the end of this?
Okay, well, they should already know that we have 3 author's purposes: informational, persuasive, and entertainment. And they should be able to identify elements within the story that can help them say why they chose that author's purpose. We're also looking for the message within the text, or in other words, what is the theme of the story? Because last week we read the Silence Game, and in that particular one there were 2 stories, one within another, and one was superficially about children playing a silence game, but below that there's this very serious undercurrent of what was going on with the Native American population being relocated by force, and what effect did that have on the children, and why were they playing this game. And so as higher questioning leads, I'm hoping to tie that in, that we've already talked yesterday about how both of these were historical texts, but one was in first person and the other in third person. So I'm kind of tying some threads together from earlier in the week.
I like that.
And from last week. I don't have a script written out to exactly how I'm going to do it, because it's going to be responsive to what they're telling me.
Kind of more organic.
More organic, based on what they're telling me. And they're a high enough group, I know they can follow me.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to recap that, because you gave me a lot of information there. So students should know that there are 3 author purposes, so they should know that coming into the lesson. They should be able to identify the elements in the story to determine that purpose. But you said you're also going to touch on theme, kind of tying that back together to, so you did theme last week with them?
Yes.
Okay, tying threads together from last week. Okay.
So it's not a required part of the lesson, but it's a part that I thought would be a beneficial enrichment.
Well, absolutely.
If we
Always
can get to it.
reviewing is good too. Okay, so what will the teacher and the students be doing to show progress towards mastery of that objective? So your objective was to identify the elements, but then also look for themes. So what will you be doing, and what will the students be doing? I guess we'll start with you first.
I'm going to be facilitating circulating throughout the room. This is a rather large group, and it's in the afternoon. Sitting in a large group for more than about 10 minutes is not very effective.
Yeah.
And so they work far better with a partner in a small group. And so I expect to be actively circulating and just asking questions and kind of trying to use guided questioning and not just tell them the answers, because I want them to discover things for themselves. A lot of times they surprise me, come up with things I haven't thought of, which are actually higher level thinking than what I was thinking. So I'd like to encourage that and elicit that from them. I'm also going to have them take their reading journals with them, and I'm going to have them record both the author's purpose and the theme. And I want them, they will also have their HMH text and a highlighter, and they are used to highlighting things in the book to support what they're saying. We've done a fair amount of highlighting in the story already, and most of them only have one highlighter, so I'm probably going to tell them, if you have a different color, use it. If not, circle, so you can tell between what you highlighted previously this week.
I like that you have them annotating their text. So anything else about what the students will show? So you're going to facilitate and circulate the room. Because you said your class works much better in small groups with guided questions. You're going to also have them record in their reading journal and then highlight and annotate their text. Anything else about what the students will do towards mastery?
Just to make things go more smoothly, when you said annotate, I just remembered their books has a place for notes.
Yeah.
Instead of using the reading journals this particular time, I'm going to have them annotate directly in the book, because that's fewer materials for them to have to manage. So we'll use the HMH book, their highlighters, dry erase board, one for each group, and a marker and eraser.
Okay.
And I leave it to them to work out who's going to do the writing, because that's good problem-solving practice, even if it does take a little bit longer.
So will all of them be recording, or just, you said one dry erase board per group?
They're going to have to decide, and we'll decide at the beginning who's going to be the recorder. They're both going to write in their own books. But decide, one person's going to get the supplies and one person is going to be the recorder.
So they'll be talking and annotating and collaborating first, and then their answers will go on the dry erase. And then is that where you say, like, once everyone's finished, they're going to share, and then they're going to go to the three corners? Can you go into elaboration, like what the three corners are going to be? One
corner would be informational, one corner would be entertainment, and one's persuasive. And if no one goes to a particular corner, we're going to have a discussion about, I noticed no one chose this corner. Can you tell me why it wasn't considered? So a lot of why questions. Why do you think? How do you support your answer?
Okay, I like that you're going to have them justify their answer too. So the three corners will be the three different authors' purpose.
Yes, and it'd probably be, well, I don't really want to give it away. I might just put up an initial in each corner of the room, EIP. Because I don't want to give away what the author's purpose is, because I'm trying to get them to recall what they already know and have talked about previously.
And since you mentioned earlier when we were talking about your lesson, you said there might be two apparent choices. I would love to see those two choices, because I think you said it was entertain and informational. Have those kids argue.
Have them meet together.
Yeah.
Maybe switch partners.
And have them try to justify their answers and maybe try to persuade the other side why. That would be really neat to, because that's higher order thinking too.
Why don't we throw out three corners? Because I'm very sure no one's going to pick persuasive, and if they do, we'll just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's do you switch partners.
Oh, okay.
We can do. Let's see. Let me think how we're going to do this. We can do two corners, just briefly. If you picked informational, you go over here. If you picked entertainment, you go over here. And then one person from each group. How am I going to do that where they're not? I don't want to waste a lot of time in this transition. How can we make that run more smoothly?
So when you partner them off A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, right? And so they can quickly pair up. And then when they're in their corners, have the A's go get with a different B or something like that, so you can have a quick change. So
A's get with a different B.
from the other group.
Okay.
So they would need to like go partner with someone from the, or if you already have them in informational and you've got them in entertainment, they just need to go pair up with one person from that group that's not their partner, right?
Pair up.
Because you want to do it quick, because otherwise it's, I don't have a partner, I can't,
know.
I can't find anybody. So you've got to have those things determined before you do it. So I would partner them off A, B, A, B, A, B.
Okay.
But then when they have them in those two corners, you're going to go pick someone from the other group who's not your partner. But their
Okay.
partner should be with them, right?
Right.
So I think that'll work out
I
pretty
like
quick.
that. I mentioned to you before that I'm struggling with pacing now that I'm departmentalized, and I think that's where I'm losing some time is in some of this logistical stuff
Mm-hmm.
where I don't quite have it pinned down ahead of time how we're going to do it, and then it gets a little fuzzy, and then the kids are distracted.
So for me, I always like thinking ahead in my lessons, like if there was any kind of movement or transition or like getting into groups, I needed to know ahead of time how I was going to do that quickly so I didn't lose instructional time. And so knowing that you're going to be partnering tomorrow, already have a partnering strategy ready to go. Because if you say you can pick your partner, there are kids that are going to probably not pick the best partner, first
And
of
there's
all.
some that won't get picked in a
And
particular field.
yes, and then they're going to be looking for a partner. So if you do like a 1-2, 1-2, or you do A-B, they're real quick. And then I always say, if you don't have a partner, come to the front of the room. And so those kids that come to the front of the room, I partner them up real quick. And it happens in less than a minute. So that might help with pacing. So that's something good. And I can even, if you want me to, I'm recording that on here. When I'm observing tomorrow, I can time how long it takes for them to partner up.
Yes.
And so then you can know, like, well, it only took 45 seconds. I would say that's pretty good. If it takes 3 or 4 minutes, then we need to look at how we, are moving the kids
That's
around
true,
the room.
'cause sometimes I feel a little frustrated. I'm like, oh, we're wasting so much time, but really, I'm the one that's wasting time because I don't have it organized the way it needs to be.
Yeah, and I noticed that too when I was down here doing walkthroughs in 4th grade. There were a few teachers that already had like a grouping strategy and then a few that didn't, and it really wasted. And you don't think 3 or 4 minutes is really a lot, but if you start to add that up in every class, you're getting close to like half an hour, sometimes
Exactly.
of time left. So
And it's not just that particular time, it's that if students are distracted and they become disengaged, it takes more time to get them back on task.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And this is
something I
also
really
one of
wanna
our
work on.
focuses, remember, is organizing students to collaborate. That's on our instructional model. And so
Right.
there's a lot of strategies in there. There's like, I do soulmate, like find the person with the same shoes, find the person with the same color shirt on, things like that. Because a lot of times you have kids that find their friends. They always go with their friends. Our friends are not exactly our best partner to work with.
Right.
But also you kind of want to mix up the kids because you don't want them always being with the same kid every single time.
True.
They need to hear different answers. They need to hear different strategies. So I would encourage you to look, if you look in our HAN snapshot, if you click on organizing students to collaborate, there's a whole document of different ways to do it. There's like mix and match. There's one where you have like a deck of cards and you pass out the deck of cards at the beginning of class and it's like, go find a person with the same suit, right? All hearts or something like that. There's a lot of like quick, easy ways to group them. I can share that with you when I go back.
That would be great. I'm thinking to avoid confusion and to have a definite delineation between author's purpose and theme, which sometimes they confuse. I'm thinking the first partner to work with, let's just do author's purpose. And then after we do the thing where they switch partners, they'll sit down with their new partner and then we'll begin theme.
Okay.
To have a definite break between the two, because sometimes they get a little fuzzy on what's the author's purpose and what's the message.
Delineate the difference.
And that
I think that's
they'd
good
have a
idea.
chance to work with two different partners.
Yeah, no, I like that. Okay.
Okay, so author's purpose first. After switch, theme. Okay.
And then my last, we'll come to the very last question because I've documented that you want me to watch for pacing during your lesson. But my last question is, so how will you know that they have mastered the objective? How will you know that they get it?
By showing me what they've annotated
Okay.
in their books. I mean, we could do it on a flashcard, but you're going to be there for 30 minutes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
45 times with me.
Yeah.
But for the sake of time, I think I'm going to have to, while I'm circulating them, I'm going to have to see what they're annotating.
Annotation takes when monitoring.
We frequently do an index card for an exit ticket, but we don't frequently exit
Yeah.
after 30 minutes.
What will you do though if when you're monitoring and you see there is some misconceptions or misunderstandings about author's purpose?
I'll pull up a chair. I'm not real comfortable sitting on the floor anymore, but I'll
Yeah.
pull up a chair and ask them some questions and kind of guide them. I mean, I like to build on what they know, and I'll say I like or I agree with. Have you thought about, or why do you think that? So I don't like to just tell them things, and I would never tell a child you're wrong because that destroys their self-esteem. But I like to take whatever kernel of truth is in there and guide them through questioning and through looking at the book. That's where the pacing is going to come in. I can't just sit down with one group for 10 minutes and never get to another group. So that's one thing that I'm really working on. As a self-contained teacher, I could borrow minutes
Yeah.
from different places. I don't have that luxury with the three-way switch.
So as you're monitoring, like quickly identify those kids that are showing and sit with them. And I would just I was a person who always timed myself because I was very much like, I've got to get to that next subject or something. So I'm going to sit 2 minutes with this group, and not every group is going to have a misconception. Majority of the kids are going to get it. So just making sure that you're spending like targeted intentional time with those kids, 2 to 3 minutes, and move on to the next group. Okay.
So not looking for mastery when working with the small groups, just redirection in the right, toward the expected outcome.
Well, you are going to look to see like, okay, this group gets it, this group gets it, this group needs a little more intervention. I need to sit with this group, I need to talk with them. So you are looking for mastery in that.
But intervention may need to be later if they need more attention.
I think that like you said, if you're seeing someone write persuade, then they're clearly not understanding author's purpose, because persuade is, there's no evidence of
There's
persuade
no evidence in this text
in
of
this story.
persuade.
So I think that to me would be an indicator of like who I might need tier 2 with on author's purpose. But if it's, they picked informational but they're not they don't have a justification for it, or if they pick entertain but their justification is weak, that's something you can sit with them and adjust quickly. But if it's just way off, then that is something like small group. Maybe like in your guided reading, that would be a lesson on author's purpose. You identify those kids and work with them. Okay, so we just have a few more minutes left. So last thing I want to talk to you is, what do you want me specifically looking for during this lesson? So I've already documented pacing, and you want me to actually time how long it takes them to group, right?
How long to group, how much time I'm spending with each group.
Okay.
I don't want to time myself, but I would like an idea of how I'm doing with that, because I have a sense that it's uneven.
Okay, you mean as you're monitoring and you're sitting with the kids?
Well, I think what happens is I start out the lesson very excited and very relaxed, and then I really get into it, and we go a little faster, and then all of a sudden I realize that, timer's gone up, we've only got 5 minutes left, I've got to hurry and jam everything in. And so it's like, instead of a steady pace, I feel like I'm going,
Okay.
It's like not having a cool down after riding a bike.
So you kind of
You just
lose track
jump
of
off.
time.
I do, even though I have timers set, that in 10 minutes or in 5 minutes it's time to do whatever. It seems to creep up on me.
Okay. Are you timing yourself? So like, are you timing yourself for your lesson? And then are you timing yourself when they're doing like small group work? How are you timing yourself?
I have 2 timers. One's the large one on the board. That one is set for our team schedule. For when we have to rotate to specials or the next class or something like that. My timer on my phone, I use that one for this activity, you have 5 minutes. And then what happens is, if they're not quite ready, I'll do the strategy of show me with your fingers if you need 1, 2, or 3 minutes, because they always want to take 10.
Have you tried doing like on YouTube, like looking up timers? There's all kinds. There's like
I've
fall
used
themed
those
ones,
in the past.
and have them up on the screen, and that way it's a visual for everybody, because it's easy if it's on your phone to not be paying attention to the timer ticking on there. But if I always had a big timer up on my board, the kids could see it, I could see it, and that kind of helped me know, like, if you were to sit down and you looked up and it said 5 minutes left, and then you looked up again and it said 1 minute, you spent 4 minutes with those kids, right?
I actually used those before with first grade, but for some reason it didn't dawn on me to use with fourth grade. I think that's a great idea. And I have a few very responsible students who will let me know, excuse me, Miss Dave, the timer says.
A timer on the board.
Display YouTube timer on day. I like that.
Do you need me to send you any ideas or?
That would be great.
Okay.
Since I don't really have we have training after school today, so I don't have a whole lot of time. But also, if there's something that I could try today, because I don't really want to try everything for the first time when we're being observed.
Yeah, no,
I
get that.
Practice this afternoon with.
Yeah, and there's ones that are silent. There's ones that play songs. So I will send you something. Okay, so that is our time for our pre-conference. So I've got some really good notes. I understand what it is that I'll be observing for tomorrow. So I'll come in tomorrow at 1:30. And I know you said it's going to take a little bit. The kids have to transition from the bathroom and everything. I'll observe your lesson, and then after school, we will meet and we will do our post-conference. So we'll talk about all these things, and you can ask me questions. I'll give you feedback on things that I observed, and we'll just go from there. Okay?
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.